Hello, Facebook. How are you doing today? Here we are again with my cousin, my wonderful cousin Brian. How you guys doing?
Happy Sunday, everyone.
So Brian and I are very excited about today's show because we have two very intelligent and bright women on the show today. Brian, would you like to do the introduction?
With absolute pleasure, I'd like to introduce Toni Courier and Robin Foster from the International African American Museum, which will hopefully be breaking ground in South Carolina in 2020. They head up the Family History Center that's going to be part of the new museum. So they're going to be here to tell us a little bit about the museum, a lot about the Family History Center, kind of what you can expect to find there, records, resources, and kind of what's going to make it a unique and interesting space. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome both Robin and Toni. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hi.
Excited to be
Hi,
here.
guys. How are you guys doing today? This is so awesome.
We're good.
We're doing fine.
That's great. So, Brian, do you want to start off the questions and what?
I will do. So I can open this either to Toni or to Robin, whoever wants to jump in. Can you tell us a little bit about the IAAM, the International African American Museum, and then kind of tell us how your department, the Family History Center, kind of fits into the overall scheme?
Sure. Well, the International African American Museum is under development right now in Charleston, South Carolina. And the site where the museum will be built is actually sacred ground. Gadsden's Wharf is where so many enslaved Africans who disembarked in South Carolina actually took their first steps on American soil, North American soil. More than 41% of the enslaved Africans who were brought to North America were brought to Charleston. And that's where they took their first steps. So this is truly sacred ground, and we hope that the site will become a pilgrimage for those with roots in South Carolina. And so many people do have roots in South Carolina. Number one, because more than 40% of the enslaved Africans were brought in here, but also because after the Atlantic slave trade closed, the domestic slave trade began and took off. And during the domestic slave trade, South Carolina was actually a large exporting state. So there were many, many people who were enslaved in South Carolina who were taken all throughout the New South, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas. And because of that, and planter migrations, where planters moved and then also took enslaved communities with them. Because of that, so many African Americans in America today have at least one ancestor who came from or through Charleston or South Carolina. So it's a very significant site.
So actually, kind of in a way, that really is like our kind of Ellis Island, as it were.
Well,
obviously,
definitely, it's been compared to that. We hope that the site will become a site of pilgrimage for people who have roots in South Carolina. To be able to stand where your ancestors stood is an amazing thing, to have that ground under your feet.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. So, Toni, and Robin, I want you to do this too. Why don't you guys tell us something about yourselves and how you got involved into this particular thing? So who wants to go first? Since Toni just got finished talking, Robin, why don't you start off?
Okay, I'd say my start with family history was in 1985. I started helping other people, and I also helped myself. We starting with oral histories was more important because we have to know where to start we can't just jump online. Back then, you couldn't even go online to get much at all. So we were going to family to find what we wanted. We filled out pedigree sheets. They were just on paper. And gradually, like in around 1980, 1990, and around then, we started embarking on going online a little bit. I did a research with Family Search then, okay? I was affiliated with the Family Search, or FamilySearch.org, okay, from 2009 until about 2016, okay? And I was helping people all over the world. And the training that I got was good. I can help anybody with their research. It doesn't matter whether they're researching, wherever they're researching, I can help them. And I had my stroke 2016, and the neurologist that saw me said this to me, and I want you to know what the neurologist said. There's two things I'm not going to forget: God and family history. So I was happy to hear that, and I'm back into it now, and I think I'm more into what we have to do now than I was before, because I don't do anything else but that.
Wow. I know that feeling. I definitely know that feeling. So, Toni, what about you? How did you get started, and what brought you into the fold?
Right. Well, my work started at the University of South Florida. I was studying anthropology there for my master's degree, and my area of concentration actually was historical archaeology, public archaeology, and interpreting the past for the public. And we started a website there called the USF Africana Heritage Project. And we began gathering documents and putting out tutorials on how to do African American genealogy research. And then more and more, it seemed that our work was becoming focused in and around Charleston, because the area is just so foundational to African American family history. So we ended up starting Low Country Africana. That's when Low Country Africana was born. And we have been here for 15 years. Low Country Africana is our nonprofit organization. And Robin and I do a lot of work with Low Country Africana. It's a free website that's dedicated to African American genealogy and history. So we've been here working in this area between Robin and me. We've been here working in this area I've been 15 years. She's been 20, 25, Robin, about that?
25.
Yeah. So when the museum came along, we were contacted by them, and we are now currently working to establish the Center for Family History at the International African American Museum.
Wow, that's awesome. Brian?
Well, the question that I have is, you have a very, very popular Facebook group for the IAAM. And what I really get is the sense of the commitment that you both have to it and the passion that you have for it. You're always sharing incredible resources, and it's just really, really brilliant. And I'm just curious, what got you so enthusiastic about working with the IAAM in particular?
Well, just the fact that so many African American family histories start here. There's just no better place in America, or in North America really, to have an African American genealogy research center, and there's no place better than in the International African American Museum that's situated right there on that sacred ground. So it all makes sense to us. We love the approach that the museum is going to take to interpreting African American history, and then our center will allow the visitor, the patron, the visitor to the museum to personalize their museum experience by interacting with trained research assistants who can help them research their own particular strand of American history and how their family helped to shape American history.
Wow. So let me say this before I go any further, because we must acknowledge our fan base. We always say hello to them. They always tell us where they're coming from. So I want to say hi to Barbara and everybody, and Martha. And then we have Philly from Philly, Logan. And are you in Hawaii or not? I think you are, but he's from Philly. So we have Hawaii in the house. We have just a lot of family. Karen is from Denmark. I told Karen that she really needed to listen in on this show today. So because she may hear something she would like, and I'm positive that she will. We have, and then we always have our families.
Stephanie Sankova.
Yes, and Deborah Cross, and there's a lot of these people are family members that, you know, are really coming up and everything. And we have Shelton from Hampton, Virginia, and everybody. So I just want to just kind of say hello to everybody that's logged in so far. And of course, South Carolina is in the house. Camden, South Carolina.
And hello, Karen from Denmark.
Yes. And Harold.
Given the time, given the time difference, they're what, 7 hours, 5 or 6 hours ahead of us.
Wow.
So I'm always impressed.
Yeah.
And hello, Harold too.
Yes, Harold is one of our old followers, and we have Florida in the house and Ohio.
Yeah.
So yes, we're very, very happy to have everybody in. I just want to get all their comments up. So with that being said, let's get back to questioning. So which one of you guys can tell us more actually about the Center for Family History? Because that's real quickly, Karen said it's 10:22 there. PM.
Wow. So thank you for being up.
Yes, so thanks for staying up with us. That's so awesome. So, yes, I wanted to, let's get into that, because one of the things that I learned from you guys when we were doing a prep on the show earlier, was the fact that the IAAM and the CFH are two totally different things, but they're connected.
Yes.
So how do we explain that?
Okay, we are actually a part of the International African American Museum. We have our specific roles there, and that is African American genealogy. Our center is dedicated entirely to African American genealogy and history. And so we are a part of the larger IAAM, but we have a very specific role there. I can tell you about the records that we have because I've been involved most heavily in those areas. And then Robin has designed and currently directs our genealogy education programs and our social media outreach. So I can tell you about records. She can tell you about genealogy education.
Okay, Brian?
Well, if you'd like to tell us a little bit more about the records that
Sure.
I guess that you already have, or that you're planning on adding.
Absolutely. So the museum, we're hoping to break ground by the end of the year, and then we'll be opening late 2020 or early 2021. But the Center for Family History is already live and is already out there delivering public programming, and we already have our website up and rolling. And for our website address, you can reach us on CFH, which for Center for Family History, cfh.iaamuseum.org. And on our website, we have several digital record collections, and I can tell you about a few of those. We collect and would love for our readers to contribute marriage records, obituaries, funeral programs, records for free people of color. We also have a collection called Found on Family Search, which is where we go on to Family Search, which of course has millions of digitized records. And I should say that they recently added their 1 billionth record to, to their collections. Yes, it was about two months ago, I want to say. But so Family Search is an enormous free resource for genealogy research. So on our Found on Family Search page, what we do is we search through their holdings. We search the catalog, we search their collections to find record sets that are especially useful for African American genealogy. And when we find them, we put them on our Found on Family Search page so that our readers can find them and go and view them. So we'll put up a little description about that record collection. We'll put up a sample document from the collection so you can see what a sample record looks like and what information it contains. So that's another one of the digital collections that we have. On all of our digital collection pages, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there's a form there where you can actually contribute records of that type yourself. So on the marriage records page, there's a contribute form, et cetera, et cetera. But the three favorite collections of ours and the ones that we love to add to the most are first our Ancestor Archive. Our Ancestor Archive is a page that celebrates the beautiful photographs that so many have of African American ancestors, and we encourage everyone to share ancestor photos with us. And when you go on there, you'll be able to view the family stories and photographs that have been shared already. You will also have an opportunity to contribute your own. And when you contribute your own, you can upload your photograph. You can tell us who is in the photograph and where and when the photograph was taken. And then you can tell a story about that ancestor if you like. There's a space on the form that says, please use this space to type as little or as much as you would like to share about this ancestor. And the photos that people have been sharing are just beautiful, just stunning. And we invite everyone to share and archive their family photos on our Ancestors Archive page.
And am I right in thinking? Oops, sorry. And am I right in thinking that you don't have to? Your ancestor doesn't have to have come from South Carolina. They could have come from anywhere. Am I right in that?
Yes, okay. That's correct. We are national and international in scope. So if you would like to share a photograph of an ancestor from Liberia or Sierra Leone or Nova Scotia, we welcome that, the Caribbean. So we have records and resources no matter what your geographic area of research interest is. We have records and resources to help you be successful in your ancestor search. And then another of our favorite collections is our Bible records collection. And here we encourage people to photograph or scan the first few pages of the family Bible that contain the family birth, marriage, death information. Some of these records are in the family Bibles of African American families. Some of these records are in the family Bibles of former slaveholding families who actually have recorded in their Bible records the births, deaths, marriages, etc. of enslaved people, of people they formerly enslaved. And I'm really excited to be able to say that with our Bible record collecting program, we have something to give back. And this is why we're so excited about our collecting program. If you will kindly share your family Bible records with us, we will send you an archival grade, acid-free Bible storage box with archival grade, acid-free tissue paper to pad the Bible inside of the box. And we will also send a booklet about preserving your family treasures, not just that Bible, but also your other family treasures. And so if you share Bible records with us, we will send you the archival box to help preserve your family Bible for generations to come. So
that's brilliant.
We love it. And you know what? We've had a lot of people take us up on it. We have, and just some beautiful, you know, those old Bibles can be so ornate and just stunning. And so many people have shared just beautiful images of their family Bibles. And it doesn't matter if the records from your family Bible are from the 1900s or from the 1800s or where they are from. We welcome you to archive your family's Bible records on the Center for Family History's website.
Okay, well, we have a question from everybody is loving it. You got that this is awesome. I'm excited. We got a lot of things like that, but there is one question from Shelton Tucker. He said, will the Bible records be indexed?
Yes, eventually they will. We will have a record database eventually. It's not something that we will have this year because it takes some planning and it takes quite a few months to actually develop that. But yes, eventually every record that's on the IAAM CFH website will be in a searchable database. Now, as they are now, you could go on an individual page, for instance, and on the marriage records, you can search the marriage records and you can search any keyword. And if that keyword appears in one of those entries, it's going to bring it up to you. Same thing on all the other archive pages. So
wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And then finally,
so I've got a. Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, finally is our USCT pension files collection. And this is going to be at the heart of our research collection when we open. We are acquiring USCT pension files for our patrons to research in. And as we receive them, we're actually abstracting them, all of the testimony, everything from within that file, and then we go and we collect images of certain important pages in that. For instance, the statement of the veteran about how he joined the military, etc. Well, we're so excited about this because more than 5,000 African American men served in the USCT in South Carolina alone. 5,000. And so you almost can't do African American history and genealogy without addressing USCT pension files.
So basically, what you're doing is the same thing that the Daughters of the American Revolution has done for the American, the Patriots. Yes. And really kind of setting that standard. And now you're doing that for African Americans.
That's right. That
is awesome.
Oh, we're so excited.
And make sure you tell them how much those usually cost if you go and get it yourself.
Okay. Yes, those records, he's got Shepherd. I see you commenting. Those records are available on paper at the National Archives. And when you order from the National Archives, it generally costs $80 for the first 100 pages of the USCT pension file, and then 70 cents per copy for every page thereafter. Well, if you've worked in USCT pension files before, you know some of them, most of the ones that we have are over 200 pages. Some of them go, up in the 300 pages. So if you order from the National Archives, you're going to spend anywhere between $200 and $300 to obtain that file.
Wow.
We have a vendor. Wow. We have a vendor who will go in and scan the USCT pension files for us and scan the entire file, regardless of the length, for a set price, which is so lovely, and we're so grateful. and full color scans, and then arrange that file and send it to us in a PDF file, the entire file. And it's just
That's impressive.
unbelievable. Yes. And it's unbelievable some of the stories that come out of these USCT pension files. You learn about people's lives before, during slavery. You learn about their family members who lived and died during slavery that may not be recorded anywhere and certainly aren't recorded in a census.
And it's good for me because people like myself who doesn't have a U.S. pension person, you know, you can read the other people's and glean some of your story, even if you don't have a person that in your ancestor yet.
Wow, that's awesome. So given this information, because I have not found a USCT person.
Okay.
At least I don't think I have, not personally. So how does a person go about even searching something like that? Like, what would make them say, okay, I think I have someone who's a part of the colored troops? And let me make sure for those that don't know what it is, even though I'm dealing with a very intelligent group of people, USCT stands for United States Colored Troops. So what they're doing, first off and foremost, I as a new employee at the Daughters of the American Revolution, I find this just fascinating because this is what they do at the DAR. This is they literally compile all of this information about different patriots. There are still new patriots being found and things of that nature. And they compile all this information and use the information so that people can then connect themselves to them. Yes. So this is what you're doing. This is the exact same thing that you're doing. Yes. So I'm getting ready to start looking for my USCT person.
We can help you. We can help you on our USCT pension files page. Right at the top of the page, there's an article called "Did Your Ancestor Serve in the United States Colored Troops? Here's how to find out." And we take you step by step through the various ways that you can search to find out if you have an ancestor who served in the United States Colored Troops.
But they are amazing records because, again, on one of my father's great uncles in Virginia found his details on that database, and then a very interesting story started to emerge. He after the Civil War, he became a Buffalo Soldier, got a chance to access those records. Went over to the Philippines with Roosevelt as part of the Spanish-American War.
Wow.
So I believe when they're saying that these kind of records, the USCT records, can open up whole chapters you know nothing about in your family history, it's not an understatement. There are some nuggets of gold in there.
Mm-hmm. There was a file that one of our readers ordered through us, and we delivered to her recently. And she said she was discouraged and about to give up her family search because she had hit a brick wall and just couldn't seem to find any more information on her ancestors. This USCT pension file tied together all those mystery items of information that she's been collecting for 30 years. It brought them all together and made sense of them.
Yep, that is good. Have we lost Tanya?
No, I'm back.
Okay.
It shut me off for a minute. I don't know why.
I've got a question for you. When I'm researching my free people of color, one of the most invaluable, especially in Virginia and North Carolina, one of the most invaluable things is obviously they had to go to a courthouse, they had to register as free, they had to explain why they were free, and it also gave really essential information about their family, who their parents were, at the very least who their mother was, if they were a parent themselves, who their children were. I have never been able to find anything like this in South Carolina.
Really?
I've even written to archives. I've written to kind of the county courthouses, going, have you ever heard of these records for free people of color in South Carolina, and where can I access them? And people don't know. So if you can't, it's kind of unfair. If you can't answer this now, I'll understand, but hopefully I can touch base with you. Do you know if South Carolina made its free people of color register in a courthouse?
Yes, there's the state free Negro capitation tax, which was taken yearly for free people of color. And those records are on 4 microfilms that are available from the South Carolina Department of Archives and History, SCDAH in Columbia. But there are a lot of other places where records of free African Americans appear, particularly in the Charleston area, in court records. The court records in South Carolina are a gold mine for researching free African Americans. So there were various laws passed at various times throughout the history of South Carolina that were designed to regulate the freedom and the commerce of free African Americans, particularly after the revolution in Haiti, the Denmark-Vesey conspiracy in the 1820s here. And so those laws required people to register themselves with the court. And so you are going to find those registrations and often just so much information about their families in the court records in South Carolina.
Wow. Wow, that is wow.
Cool.
And if you look on our records for free people of color page, you'll see a lot of those court records on there.
That's cool. I'm actually kind of looking through the IAAM page now, and it's really awesome. Brian, did you want to read something from were you getting ready to do that? Or
no,
okay, well, we have one person who has a testimony, and I believe it's Scott Shepard.
Hey, Scott.
He says, yes. Wait a minute. I lost it. Okay, there it is.
Oh, I've got it. Do you want to read it?
I got it. Well, I can read it. You can read it. It doesn't matter. I'm looking at it now. It says, yes, the USCT pension files I received reveal so much. Tied in with other records, I now know the service member's family back to his grandparents and can almost connect them to others even earlier in late 1700s.
Wow.
Pension records are awesome. And then we have another one, which was Karen. I told you, Karen, we would have something up here specifically for you. She said, I would like to contribute a will of a relative who died in Edgefield, South Carolina in 1804. It contains an accounting of his possessions, including 7 Negro slaves. Their first names are listed, not more. Can I send this to you? I see a form for uploading Bible records. Is there another form to fill out for wills?
Yes, we have a contribute records page on the website, and let me just give you the address of that. It is cfh.iaamuseum.org and then a / contribute photos or documents. But if you go to our digital collections, which you can access in the upper toolbar, and just scroll down to that menu that pops up there, the very last item on there is contribute photos or documents. And if you click that, it will bring you over to this page where you can submit every type of record that we collect.
All right, I am posting this right now so that everybody can see it. There it is. That's the site for that. This is so awesome. And we forgot to let you guys know that people will definitely be asking you questions because we get our viewers. Someone personally wanted to say, Toni, this news warms my heart. Fantastic job. Carol's Oakley Tea. And then you have Karen smiling. She's loving it. We have Carolyn Brentley, who also loves it. And Karen says, terrific, thanks. So now that we've spoken with Toni a lot. Let's get on Miss Robin.
Oh,
Robin.
Yes,
yes,
you
indeed.
read my mind. You read my mind.
Yes,
Robin,
yes.
if you'd like to talk us through some of the kind of educational things that you're going to be organizing and doing, and the kind of educational opportunities that people can have.
Well, the first thing that you can get involved with now is reading the blog, because I mean there's 64, I think, blogs, but each one of them it will help you with what you're doing. They're of course in different places, okay? But there are things that you have to do, all right? Like death records. How do you find the death record? There's a blog on that. But along with death records, you can find out obituaries. Okay, you can find the cemetery. Okay, there are a lot of things that you can do. Just starting out. One thing that I would say, I know a lot of people down getting the family talking to you, but you've got to get, whatever you do, get the family talking, the oldest living relatives. See, this is how I started out. They might have some wrong things, but I haven't found any wrong in mine. From my grandmother, her sisters, cousins, whoever is living. These people, for me, are all gone, but I researched them at the time. Then now I'm left with cousins who are like my second cousins. And you get as much information as you can. You have to imagine, you can go to a church in the area where you're researching. Find the church. Go there. I talked to a man who was at my great-great-grandmother's funeral. He remembered it. It's just mind-boggling.
Wow, that's awesome.
A little bit of information, okay? Now, once you do all that, you're constantly doing that because you're constantly finding people that know your family. But you can also interview people that you meet that were living around the area. You're going to get more from them than you would if you go online looking for paper, go online looking for records. You've got to get that before they're gone, because you won't have it when they're gone. So I tell you, please get that.
Yeah.
Now, some of that information will help you. Okay? It'll help you. You can go on Family Search, you can go on Ancestor, and you can start, but that's good resources, okay, to do. But when I lived in Illinois, I dreamed of walking into a library where my ancestors lived. And I did it. I did it for one place. I did it in lots of places, but I did it in Greenwood. Nobody in the family could help me with Greenwood. All there was what I had gotten from interviewing. I went to work for the library, the genealogy department in Greenwood. I did it to help them, and I did it so I could be there. People walked in, they told me more about my family than I knew myself.
Wow.
They did. And I didn't even have to go there. But I wanted to find out as much as I could. I picked up a book in that library, in that Greenwood Library. I picked up a book written for white people. Sorry, but they're written for white people. But it told about a cemetery that was a cemetery for black people. Now, if I never picked up that book, I never would have known. And I researched that cemetery. People that worked in the library with me, one name, Jim Ravencraft. He knows the cemeteries. he knew of Save All Cemetery. That's where the family members were buried. But see, I don't research just my family now. I research the people that they knew, because the people are looking for their family, and the people that they knew that knew my family, they were important too. We have to look at the community. They lived together. They worked together. They went to church together.
Yes.
They were Masons. Okay? And we have to look at the whole thing.
So, Robin, let me ask you this question, because you have family out of the Greenwood area. My family is just, it encompasses all of the 96th district in one way or another. So Brian and I family covers all 6 areas: Abbeville, Newbury, all of them, Lawrence, all of that, Orangeburg, Spartanburg. We cover all of that, but Greenwood is especially good to me because, well, not good to me, but it brings up some questions from me because of the fact that when my mom and them, when I first started asking the questions, my mom and them thought that their father was born in Greenwood, but they didn't know that he wasn't until I did the research and found that he was born actually in Edgefield, because he was born in 1894 and Greenwood wasn't, established until 1897.
Wow.
So that makes me know that the postal changes and all of that stuff that was going on, once Greenwood was created, a lot of my family was living right there in Greenwood. You are talking to two people who definitely believe that the entire area is related. Do you believe that?
Yeah. You see, what you have to understand is they're different places, right? But just think of the church, for example. Wherever they went to church, they were related. And let's put it this way. They saw the people in Greenwood that went to church.
Yes.
Different places. They interacted with each other. Okay? Now, Abbeville was instituted, and it was before Greenwood.
Right.
And they turned to Greenwood. In 1897, Abbeville was broken up, and Greenwood was formed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but back when we were just in Abbeville, the people in Greenwood, we related with them. We knew them.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I found it out when I was working at that library in Greenwood, you had people from Edgefield researching in Greenwood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, for me, it kind of makes sense because I think it's something that Don and I we really try to stress when we're talking about genealogy and doing your family history research. Our families were part of a community. And when you're talking about a really remote, really incredibly rural place like South Carolina, parts of North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, no matter where you are, when the place is that rural, it tends to be very social.
Yeah.
And when you look at the enslaving families, whether they were the big enslaving families or the moderately sized enslaving families, they didn't have televisions, they didn't have movie cinemas or any of that stuff. They would just pop by and visit each other. They didn't go on their own. They would take some of their enslaved population with them to, I guess, do whatever they had to do. But these people were also related to one another. So we're talking, even though it seems like a really remote, sleepy kind of community, it really was kind of vibrant. When you're talking about just the white side of our family, who were all related to each other in one way, shape, or form, didn't stop marrying their cousins or marrying each other. So by the time they started having mulatto children, all of that interrelated European DNA was introduced into the African population, who kind of mimicked what was going on the white side of the family. They started marrying their cousins. Everybody's having like 10, 12 kids. So like you said, once people start kind of spreading out, that DNA is just kind of mixing, remixing, and like we said, within a couple of generations, most of the county is going to be related to each other.
Yeah.
Yes,
And,
most
You
definitely.
know,
and something that I want to say that you have to understand, and I'm speaking the truth, okay? There is prejudice, okay?
Yes,
But
it
in
is.
these communities, these people you wouldn't know, they don't act like that, okay? White and black get along. They live together. They came up together. You may have one or two that are not that are separate, but in the communities, they are together.
Let me find out Robin is preaching on this show this afternoon, okay? Because that was so powerful in what she was saying. And, it has everything to do with why most genealogists, and I'm going to step out there and I'm going to include not just me and Brian, because I know what Brian and I do. We're learning what Toni and Robin does. But I'm talking most genealogists in general. They understand that there is no difference between any of us at any point or at any time, and it's making them start to show, look, this is what we know, this is what we've learned. There's no stereotypical African Americans having a whole bunch of kids because white Americans was doing the same thing. There's no stereotypical one particular type of race is violent where others were just as violent. I mean, we're talking the place that we all come from is Edgefield. Y'all know the nickname. It's Bloody Edgefield. It wasn't like that for nothing. It wasn't said that for nothing. So, these things, this is what we're trying to do. This is what this show is about. What Robin just said, literally, it just epitomizes what we are trying to do as a whole, as a group, as the four of us together, as genealogists as a whole. I think I'm safe in saying that this is our goal, to prove and show and make people understand that racism only exists unless you allow it. It
And
only exists unless you allow it.
when I was looking for my family, there's nobody that was black around that helped me find that. They were all white. And you have to understand, we work together in this. We work together. We have to work together. And we be an example to others.
That's awesome. That's
no,
awesome.
that's absolutely true.
Fairview, you hear me talk about. There were black people that helped me to take care of that cemetery, but there were white people too.
Brian?
No, I was going to say that's what Robin said is absolutely true. I mean, I think about the number of times, working with newly found white cousins, both on my mother's and my father's side of the family, and actually working to, they'll say, look, I'm not sure if I've got the right set of parents for our five times great grandfather. And it's like, fine, let's take a look at it together. Kind of like how Donnie and I work a lot of the time, like other cousins of ours that we've had on the show, like Sharon and Loretta. We're on the phone and we just go through the records and we start picking at things, and it's like, that makes sense. I'm not necessarily so sure about that, and challenging each other in the nicest possible way. But just working collectively, because we're all working towards the same goal.
Yes.
We all want to have correct trees that have the right records attached to the right people, and to get as much of a person's kind of history and story that we're ever going to be able to get for people who are basically been dead for a long time and can't and really can't speak for themselves.
Right. And most importantly is to bring them back to life. And everybody, no one wants to be forgotten. I there was I think it was I can't remember the name of it, but just recently, I think in around Thanksgiving of last year, a animated film came out, and it was actually about ancestors. And this guy with, this young boy who was trying to know more. It had something to do with the Hispanic Day of the Dead and all that stuff. But what they pointed out was that during the Day of the Dead festival, this was the time where their ancestors could actually come and visit them without, I mean, they were there. Of course, they didn't see them, but this was the day of remembering them. And in remembering them, it was bringing them back to life. Well, the problem is that for some of those who had passed on, if they are not remembered after a certain amount of time, they completely disappear. Mm-hmm. That's what that was about. So our goal is to bring them back, is to make sure that everybody remembers them and knows them for who they are. And unfortunately for African Americans, that's really hard to do for those older ancestors that were enslaved, where there are no records on them at all. Mm-hmm. So, that's what this is about. We're about finding that information and connecting them to our white family members so that they can then understand what the culture was and what the thing, what was going on between the two, and hopefully bridging that gap that has been there for so long, for so many years. I mean, that's what this is all about. I fell in love with that movie, and it's sad I can't think of the name of it. Coco, thank you, Deborah. Deborah Singleton says the name of the movie is Coco. So, we have let's get some of these comments. Stephanie Sankofa said, we also break down myths as well, such as in Maryland, the European DNA was brought in by white female indentures more than the white male slaveholder. That is a definite one that is, we're starting to learn about. And Barbara Elam says she agrees with a lot of the things that what we're saying. A number of her family is also included in the 96. Robin, you have one that's directed straight to you by Martha Marshall Taylor, who I actually just found out I'm related to through the Brooks family. She says, Robin, you did the Fairview Cemetery cleanup and restoration. She has DNA connections to the Percivals. So, I mean,
very good. See that work was dormant now, but since I am writing the blog, I'm taking it because I know this. Listen, is 860 some odd people buried in Fairview. That place was just in bad shape, and it probably, I don't know what it's like now, but every name was put on Find a Grave.
Wow, that's awesome. And then Scott Shepard says, I think every person has some record about them. We just got to find it.
And that's true, too. Mm-hmm. You see, tomorrow I'm going to Lander. I'm going to get, I forget, it's 1886 or 18 whatever voting records. It's the only place I can find voting records in Lander University. Okay? And you see, I'll write about those.
That's awesome.
And in the blogs will be where you will find ideas for your family.
Mm-hmm. For your own research. And I have to say, Robin
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Robin is one of the finest genealogy educators in our country today.
Wow.
And we are so honored and privileged to have her on the team. And her 64 tutorials that are already posted are available 24/7 on any of your devices on demand.
We'd like for you to, one thing that you don't do yet, at the bottom of everyone is a challenge. I don't know if you're understanding unless you do the challenge and talk back with us on the Facebook page. I put the challenge because I really want to know if you understand what I'm writing. That is how I know when you do the challenge.
So is the challenge at the bottom of the blog?
Every blog has a challenge at the bottom.
Okay.
It's called Sharpen the Saw is the section. And
yeah, I'm looking for it.
She invites the reader to apply what they have just learned to their own family research and then tell us about it in the Facebook group.
Because you might have had a problem and we could help you with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you might have gotten, and you can show, I found it, here it is. That is, we've got to see the feedback.
Well, that's awesome, Brian.
I was going to say that also sounds really good because it sounds as though you're getting people to kind of think about and evaluate their research strategies.
Yes.
Which is something, no matter what stage you are in your research, is always a really good thing to do.
Yes.
That's awesome. So why don't you guys, because we are, man, this has been just another, this show I think is, this one kind of choked me up a little bit. I don't know about y'all.
I want whoever said they related to Percival to contact me. So make sure she knows to contact me.
Okay. Who was that? That was Barbara?
Barbara.
No, that was Martha. That was Martha. She said that. So Martha, she wants you to
Join our
contact her.
Facebook group. Join IAAM CFU and contact me.
And that actually leads right to what I was getting ready to say. You guys have a Facebook group. We've already posted your website. So you want to tell them a little about your Facebook group? I'm actually posting the link to your Facebook group right now. So who wants to talk about that? Toni?
Robin.
Okay, Robin.
We've got a page, and that is Center for Family History. That's a page. That's one thing. We've got the group, which is IAAM CFH. That's a group. Then we've got for the USCT Color Truth. Genealogy. What is it, Toni?
Genealogy of the United States Colored Troops.
And see, we're constantly watching that night and day. Because if you have a problem, we want to be there to help you.
And all of these are Facebook pages?
Yes. Wait a minute. What the first one, Center for Family History one, is the Facebook page. The other two are groups.
Okay, so I'm pulling that one. I want to share. I'm going to try to get all of these done. I just shared the group page so everybody knows you can join these groups and they will, are there questions? Because I know right now you have questions for these different, sometimes you have to ask you can answer questions as to why. So do you guys, require people to answer the questions?
No, they're not required to answer the questions. There's Robin has included several questions when you join. Go ahead, Robin, and tell them what.
Yeah, that's basically to let you know about that. There are people that join groups and they don't have the right thing in mind. They're not any of us. Okay, that's just to weed them out. That's what those questions are.
But it also helps.
Again, I guess not to be funny about it. We're living in curious times. It never occurred to me that people would create fake Facebook profiles to do whatever they're going to do with them.
Yeah.
So you're just doing your due diligence that everyone that's joining the groups are actually real human beings and have a genuine interest in the subject.
Right.
Because when you belong to a group, you want to feel somewhat safe.
Mm-hmm. And those questions also help us to learn about our readers, our members' research. Because one of the questions is, are you a beginner? So we can get to know you and know where you are in learning your skills. And then the other question is, where are your ancestors from? So that also helps us to plan what sort of resources we want to gather from those areas too.
And then when you come in, there's a place inside of IAAM CFU where you can say what are your family you're researching.
Mm-hmm.
No, like I said, I am a huge fan of the IAAM CFH group. As I said, you guys just your enthusiasm, your passion for what you do really, really comes through. And, you're always sharing really interesting resources and articles and blog posts.
And we noticed we noticed that people like that. Every day they want to find something new, something that is useful for them. And we want people to know that we're there. We're not just, in and out. We're there all the time. Somebody's there.
Yeah, I know there's been a couple of times you guys have had to do some heavy duty moderating. So you guys definitely kind of jumped in there straight away. But hey, as I said, myself included, when you have a really busy Facebook page or Facebook group, it's what you have to do. Who was it? It was someone made a really good point about critical thinking. I'm trying to find out who that was. Barbara McLeod was saying that, when it comes to doing genealogical research, critical thinking really is important. And for quite a few of you will know, especially the last article that I've written, I'm doing a lot of research about my Virginia family, going all the way back to the early 1600s along the James River. So the very first settlements, the very first estates, plantations, whatever you want to call them. A lot of my father's mother's maternal family, they were there from, John Rolfe all the way down. Mm-hmm. And, thank you for those of you who shared that article. Thank you so much. That was one called Ghosts in Our DNA. Because even though I knew that I'm related from at least 2 of the 20 and odd, not related, descended from 2 of the 20 and odd Africans who were here in 1619, Gowan and the Cornish families. There's a group of us. We share DNA connections that suggest that we share ancestry from some of the other 20 and odd who no one knows any idea who they are. Wow. So it's just a matter of the segments that we share, the commonality of them, the lengths of them. Because again, that's a real lost chapter of our history, is the fact that I think now we only know 7 or maybe 8 of the surnames of those 20 and odd Africans who were here. And the brilliant thing about that the article is it's gotten people thinking about their research strategy, their research skills, how they're going about doing it. But even better than that, we've developed a group of African descended people, Native Americans, and majority European Americans, all working together, going, "Oh, you've got Woodson? I've got Woodson. Actually, I've got a Woodson will that isn't digitized. I don't even know if it's online." People are being really, really helpful. Sharing what and being really kind of forward about sharing what they know, and it's been a privilege to kind of see that fall into place and kind of take off. So anything that we can do to kind of get those kind of balls rolling or those conversations started is a brilliant thing.
Also,
so Don. Oh, go ahead. I think Toni is still trying to join us. She's having some technical issues at the moment, but go ahead.
That I've known. I'm talking about relationships between just South Carolina, all over South Carolina. Okay. I've known that Greenwood was always been related to the people in Charleston. And if you watch my last 2 blogs, I proved it. But the Palmetto Leader talks about every one of the places almost in South Carolina. If you are wanting to research, if you're researching, for example, in Lawrence, go to that Palmetto Leader and put in Lawrence and see what you get. You'll get articles for Lawrence. And it's going to be it may be about Masons, it may be about a church, it may be conference issues. But we've got to look at this as not separate places, entities, far away from each other. Okay?
Well, no, that's true because, again, we're talking about very large families that were spread out even within a state over a relatively large geographic area. So, we were talking about the Williams before the show went live. We know we've got Williams family members all the way from Charleston going all the way down to northern Georgia.
Yeah.
Because, they had, as I guess the better land got taken or was already owned, the younger children, especially the younger sons, had to move further. If they wanted to get into farming, they had to move further afield. They had to go to the lesser populated areas, the areas where the land didn't cost so much. And if their parents gave them, I don't know, 5 or 6 enslaved people, in a community of 5 or 6 enslaved people, they would take them with them, wherever it was that they went. So there, I think one of the frustrations that sometimes I have working with people is a very blinkered mentality going, I'm only looking at Edgefield.
Yeah.
I'm not related to anyone else. I'm not related to anyone in Abbeville. And it's like, yeah, you are, actually.
Yeah. It just, if they were living in Abbeville, for example, and they were going to school, they might have gone to school, Benedict or Allen University in Columbia. That's why it's related. Guess what? My great granduncle, okay, he went to Fayetteville. He was in Fayetteville, but he wrote for the Palmetto Leader. That's what I'm trying to say. And he wrote weekly articles for the Palmetto Leader from Fayetteville. And he was from Newberry. He went to school in Benedict. He graduated and when he got other schooling. But he ended up in Fayetteville, State University, as a teacher of economics. And he taught the people in the Palmetto Leader. We have to look more broad with when we're researching.
Exactly, which is something else that we recommend. When you're looking, we should always make a habit of going back to earlier census returns that we may not have looked at for a while, and just start looking at people that our immediate family members were living amongst. Because again, these are going to be family friends, probably people they went to church with. When you're talking about where we come from in South Carolina, 9 times out of 10, they're family in some way, shape, or form. And again, it's all about, for me, it's not just finding about my ancestors' stories. It's also uncovering the story of a community, the history of a community.
Yeah.
Why does Edgefield have a distinctly different flavor than, say, Charleston or Columbia or Lee County? Because even though those counties may have similarities, they do have some distinct differences. Yeah. And those differences actually shaped our family, the kind of experiences they had, what they went through. So,
well, I'm back.
Hello,
my
madam.
computer has been acting extremely ugly.
So I was going to say, before we wrap things up, does anyone have any other questions for Toni or for Robin? You guys are being very quiet.
There's nothing popping up. That's because this was just really a very powerful show. This was a very powerful show. Did you get these? Because my computer shut off, but I'm glad the thing kept going. And I don't really see you guys, but I see online that you are still there. So there is one. Did you see the question from Philly Logan? Brian, do you extend to Pittsylvania County, Virginia?
Oh, my father's ancestry covers all 4 corners, including Pennsylvania. What an attractive name! I'd love to know who or what that county was named for.
What, Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania. But yes, in all seriousness, I do have, it's again one of the many Virginia counties I have very, very deep roots in. Um, with the usual suspect families, Ball, Spencer, Mottram, Dandridge, Washington, Jefferson, you name them, they're all there.
Well, this show has definitely been one that has brought out some things that needed to be said, and Robin, you just kind of you brought church home from with you.
She did.
People might not like me because of what I say, but I always say what is true and what has to be said.
Yes, I'm sure. And you know that and as long as you continue to be you and to do who you are, there is nothing that can stop you. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for really coming on the show and giving us such a powerful show. Brian and I have really been trying to do really well with getting good people on, and I don't know, I think between you guys and not that all of those that came on wasn't good, but this show right here, this was, I don't know, Brian, what do you think?
Like I said, Dave, I've enjoyed all of our special guests.
Yes,
For me, this was a real opportunity to learn a little bit more about what it was that was going to make the IAAM different from other existing kind of African American museums, and a lot more to learn about the family history center.
Yeah.
Because you know that when Toni and I come down to South Carolina to do research, because we've kind of exhausted what we can online for Moses Williams, you know we're going to be swinging through.
Yes, we are.
Come see
yes,
us.
we are. So everybody is up here saying thank you. It was a great show. Karen Bertram said, not a question, just a great big thank you to all of you, and an extra thanks to Toni and Robin for their years of effort documenting African American history. Then from Philly Logan, he says, wow, mine as well. In fact, 3 churches in my neighborhood have people from that area. Then we have somebody waving to Toni from from New Orleans, and Harold Locke says, Harold says, thank you very much. Mary Wright says, yes, thank you. I guess she's agreeing that this was a great show. Just everybody saying, oh, Charmaine, our cousin, saying hi to me and Brian. And
hi, Charmaine.
Yes, just everybody just really wants to thank us all for this just awesome show. This was a very great show. So, Brian, you want to talk about what we're going to be doing next week? And, well, not next week. Week after next, and the fact that that will be our last show for the season. We're wrapping up a season. Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome. Well, one final shout out to my friend Kathleen. So hi, Kathleen. Thank you for joining us. The last show of the season, which will be in 2 weeks, we are having the Beyond Kin people come on. For those of you who aren't familiar with what the Beyond Kin project's all about, you can Google it. We'll also provide the links. But it's a way that you can add information from slave deeds, from probate records that list enslaved people, onto services like Ancestry.com, Family Tree, and the Family Search Family Tree Builder. It's an approach to making that kind of information available, setting up in a family tree kind of format. It has been invaluable for me, especially in terms of researching Moses Williams, finding 15 of his 45 children. I've also been doing it a lot with the James River in Virginia genealogy research that I'm doing at the moment. Let me tell you, I don't want to say it's all kind of fun, adding about 2,500 enslaved people from just one family, the Woodson family, on my family tree. But I did it, starting to work with them and starting to make some surprising and some really quite interesting kind of discoveries doing that. But yeah, this is your chance to actually hear from the people behind the project. I can't wait for them to be on. I think it's going to be a really strong show to kind of end the season with, and we hope that it inspires you as much as it's inspired us.
Yes, most definitely. And then after that, just because we won't be having a show, it's only going to be for a month because we'll be coming back in October and we'll be coming back strong in October. So until that time, you can go to our genealogy YouTube page and look at all of these shows, get caught up. So if you haven't, or if you know someone who wasn't able to be a part of these shows and they want to get into season 2, well then start at season 1, get them to the genealogy YouTube page, and then go from there. And we will be back in October. So until next week, we still got one more show though, like Brian says. So until next week, I'm Danya.
I'm Brian.
And this is the Genealogy Show. We thank you guys.
Thank you for sharing your Sunday with us.
All right. Thanks, Toni and Robin. You were great. It's been an awesome show.
You're welcome.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.